Contents. Cole read the letter. When he finished, he folded it neatly, inserted it back into the envelope, and gently placed the letter on the bedspread in front of him. Something moved inside him. He inhaled and expanded his chest. He exhaled and collapsed his chest. He felt stillness within him once more. Cole raised one hand and looked at it. He clenched it into a fist before relaxing it and opening his palm. He repeated this several times. When he finished, Cole placed both hands on his knees. A familiar and chilling tingle spread through his body. It brought goosebumps out on his arms. It slackened his muscles. His mind thought about moving for a long time, but his body remained perfectly still. He worried about this feeling after the first time it crept into him, but this time it felt like the embrace of an old friend. The feeling's reliability silenced any internal conflict he had about its negative qualities. The feeling was not one of nothing itself. It felt like the only thing that comforted Cole when all else retreated and left him alone in black seas of infinity. He welcomed its presence as it inhabited him and shut down his senses, the senses which burned with rising passion and searing pain in alternating order when left to his own control. Cole's eyelids began hanging heavily over the tops of his eyes. His lips rested together and his mouth didn't move as his nerves froze. His pupils darted around his surroundings, looking indirectly at the frayed fabric where the carpet met the wall, at the top of a distant building through the window, and at the digital clock's still numbers in the eternity that it took for 1 minute to pass. At last they looked up, half at the monotone gray plaster ceiling above and half into his own skull. He blinked slowly and stared straight ahead, his detached gaze looking through everything in front of him instead of at it. Cole's face reassumed the same catatonic stare he'd worn while motionless and seated behind his office's desk at 4:15 p.m. on a Wednesday, that he'd worn while in the wicker basket of a hot air balloon 3,000 feet above the Arizona desert, and that he'd worn while walking past the scenes of a shooting on the streets of San Francisco's Tenderloin district. Thoughts began and died away half-finished in his head. What if I waited for, maybe if I just, is it because, why does it always... Cole remembered someone telling him once that all the strung-together moments of absence, pain, and isolation in life would one day dissolve and become validated by the arrival of a golden, majestic reality, indescribable because no one had yet received it, but which could, and indeed would, arrive any day now as long as time continued marching forward. Cole felt the need to lie down under his blankets and appropriate the darkness beneath them. The chill within him blossomed into a winter's fog that surrounded Cole, terraforming the space around him into a frigid and anesthetized eternity, a room of his own which he'd been to before and that he'd come back to again.
Amira.